thoroughly mixed together. I need to take this over and rinse it off. And then that way it's clean for the next person. So then I'm gonna get a pair of dipping tongs. I'm just gonna put one color on this particular pot. So these are dipping tongs, and what I'm gonna do with them is I'm going to grab onto the pot like that, and I'm going to dunk it into the glaze, completely cover it, pull it right back out. Give it a little shake to get rid of that excess glaze. And you're gonna see that this is gonna dry really, really quickly everywhere except for where I put the wax. So this is already dry. It's like chalky dry. That's how fast it'll dry. Okay, so when that is completely dry, I can just grab it with my hands, take the dipping tongs away. If there are marks left behind from the dipping tongs, what you can do is just take a little bit of this glaze and dab it over those marks. Remember that this is not paint. So the way it looks right now is not how it's going to look after we fire it. When we fire this, this whole surface is going to melt and it's going to change. It's going to become more glassy. It's going to become more smooth. So all those little imperfections that you see on there right now, they're nothing to worry about. Sometimes these little bubbles and stuff, if they're really bad, if you just go like that, now you don't want to be really aggressive with this because you don't want to be kicking up a bunch of dust. But if you just do it just gently, you just kind of push that surface around and it fills in a bunch of those little holes. They will typically cover themselves when the glaze melts, so it's not something that I normally would worry about. And then on the bottom, where all that glaze is stuck over the wax, you have to take your little throwing sponge. This is wet, and it's easier if you do this at the sink, so you have lots of clean water. But what you're going to do is use that sponge to clean off all those areas that you waxed. Even one little speck of glaze can cause this to get stuck to the kiln shelf, and then you will lose a chunk of your pot. So you have to be pretty, you know, I admittedly am pretty obsessive about cleaning my pots, and I think that's okay. You want to have this be perfect. This is the part of your pot that doesn't have glaze on it. We can't glaze that part. So we want to make sure it looks as good as we can possibly make it look, so that when this is fired and it comes out of the kiln and everything else is gorgeous because the glaze is melted and does what it's supposed to do, and this is just raw clay, bare clay, with nothing on it, that it looks good too. Okay, once I have successfully glazed my project, this is the glaze that I chose. This is the color that it's going to come out. I need to make a note of that color. What is the name of that color? Well, that one is plum red. So you should be writing that in your journal. You know, you want to keep track of what glazes you use and how you do things, so that, you know, 3 weeks from now or whenever you can replicate that if it turns out really cool. All right, so carefully pick up your pot. Carefully walk it into the electric kiln room. And then carefully place it onto the appropriate shelf. Glaze projects go on this metal shelf right there. And then we'll go back out here. Okay, so I have successfully glazed something. Now, when you're done glazing, you gotta make sure you clean up your mess. So take all your equipment to one of the sinks. And what we need to do is clean everything, clean out your sponge, clean off any dipping tongs that you used. Never ever put dipping tongs back dirty, or the paintbrushes. Clean those really good. And then put those things away. So this is my sponge, so that'll go with me and get put away in my locker. The dipping tongs go over here into that bucket right there. There's a whole bunch of paintbrushes right here for students to use, so make sure the paintbrushes go back there. Make sure you put the wax back and the lid is on it. Take your newspaper, crumple it into a ball, and it goes into a garbage can.